I want to go to some other issues. You remember at the start of this crisis, I said we can't forget all the other important issues while we're focused on this virus, and key in all of that is water. Back in March, I spoke with New South Wales MP Helen Dalton about a bill she was attempting to introduce into the New South Wales Parliament, which would see politicians forced to declare their water ownership and public information on the water holdings of corporations. Announcing this move, Dalton faced a lot of opposition. Firstly, she was reported to the Parliamentary Ethics Committee over water holdings of her own, and later the bill was stalled due to this pandemic. Helen Dalton's a member of the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party. She joins me now from her family farm in Binya. And I'm also joined by former rice farmer Shelley Scowler, who's chair of the rural community group Speak Up. They're also very vocal about the need for water reform. She joins me from her home in Albury. Let's start with your legislation, Helen. Remind my viewers, I hope I've got that pro-C at the start there right, but why do you want this bill? And why is it urgent, and where is it in terms of process?
Well, as you said, we introduced the bill in February, but due to COVID-19, Parliament was suspended, and so the bill has lapsed. I also had trouble getting the bill through because the New South Wales government delayed it as best they could, reporting me to the Ethics Committee, as you said, and not allowing that bill to be debated. So we're going to now introduce that bill soon in the next, I think it's already been introduced into the upper house, and I will also introduce it into the lower house. So Mark Banasiak, our upper house MP, will debate that bill, and it should pass in the upper house, and I will try and do the same in the lower house. So it's important that we understand about water ownership, because at the moment it's quite a secretive business, and anyone can open or buy water. It's easier than opening up a bank account, and so you're seeing politicians, foreign corporates owning water, and we need to know about that.
Shelley, I want to bring you in here if I can. We've been fighting and arguing about water policy since Federation, and certainly hotly contested since 2007 when the Howard government first talked about a Murray-Darling Basin plan, and then it was legislated. And of course the rights then kicked in, the capacity to decouple water from land. You've got first-hand experience as a former rice grower. What's your issue with the plan as it stands?
Look, it's based on flawed science. It's simple as that. We've now got international criticism. We've had international criticism since Professor John Briscoe in 2011 pointed out the failings of the Basin Plan. And just as recently as over the weekend, we've had the Canadian University come out, and I'll quote from the report that they made public, that they've said that the Basin Plan is a failure of staggering proportions, amounting to a fraudulent scheme at the expense of Australian taxpayers, and they suggest a Royal Commission should be formed to investigate the plan in its entirety. So I guess why should we, there's many things that have gone wrong, and from the point of view of food producers in southern New South Wales and northern Victoria, protection mechanisms which were legislated back even in the National Water Initiative in 2004, and they have not been implemented. They haven't been put in place to protect the multi-generational family food producers that put staple foods on every Australian's table, and at the expense of their suffering for the benefit of a minority and the benefit of foreign countries and international investors that are making large amounts of money while our food producers are being forced off the land.
Helen, just on your legislation and the points there that Shelley makes, many of which I agree with. I think there are a lot of people who have dealt with and spoken about the issue of water in this country who have a vested financial interest in the water assets. So they don't disclose that, and I think they speak with a lot of conflict. Under your proposal, would all water holders beyond just New South Wales be disclosed? Would we know who they are? And on the broader issue coming out of this coronavirus crisis, we talk about manufacturing, we talk about having more resilience as a country. I've never said we've got a water problem. We have a water management problem. Plenty of water, we just don't store it where we should and we don't utilise it. What do you want to see happen in terms of change?
Look, there's so much, as Shelley's alluded to, that needs to change, and almost I think the only way to get to the bottom of what's happening is to have a Royal Commission. The BASIN plan has been based on flawed science. We've got the New South Wales government not standing up for New South Wales irrigators, and basically we've lost our right to water. And on every level, the environment level, we can highlight a lot of damage with the way the management of water is right. So not only I think the management, as you've said, but also an accounting problem. So they seem to over-account for there's a lot of buckets of water which are not being allowed to be used in communities for productive purposes. And so you're seeing dairies, or the dairy industry in our area, going to the wall. You're seeing production of other staple foods like rice. The industry is closing down. Now, these are staples, and this is what we expect to see on the shelves in our supermarkets.
Shelley, I've got to go. I'll run out of time in a moment, but I know you're part of an organisation called Speak Up. How can people get engaged? I think this is an incredibly serious issue, and former Queensland Premier Peter Beattie said the other day, we've got to be back at the table thinking about big projects like Bradfield and I think rethinking, this is me speaking, not him, rethinking this BASIN plan. How can people get involved and support you in this fight?
Yeah, look, we've got a website, www.speakupforwater.com. But, we need people in the city voting and getting out there and helping us get the message across that we want to protect our family farmers, we want to protect staple food producers, and we need to re-look at how we utilise every drop of water in this country so that we can get multiple outcomes. Rice crops are fantastic crops for ecological outcomes as well as producing food, and that was one of the things I loved the most about growing rice was all the wildlife that we could support at the same time. And we need to think more openly about getting multiple outcomes out of every drop of water that we use in this country, and it can be done. We need to think outside the square. And we're an innovative country. We're here. If the Prime Minister wants to create jobs and give the economy a boost, a kickstart, then let the farmers do it. Let's go to farmers.
All right, I'll put those details up on my Facebook page. Thanks for your time, Shelley and Helen Dalton. We'll watch the progress of your bill closely. Thank you also.